Hey folks, it's me, Sam. I just figured I would do this Friday afternoon stream. It's November 31st, uh, 2018. Or is today the 31st or the 30th? Um, Either way, it is the last day before December. And I just figured I would take a moment here to give my thoughts on Loomer's Twitter ban and the subsequent protest that uh, she organized as a result. First off, Laura should have never been banned from Twitter. Um, this is ridiculous. She, to the best of my knowledge, she tweeted a fairly common she tweeted something that was fairly common knowledge about uh, radical Islam, and so she was banned from Twitter, and she decided to go down to Twitter HQ and handcuff herself to like the fence or to a stop sign or something. Uh, Street theatrics. I have no problem with that necessarily. But the part that did irritate me just a little bit about what she did was the fact that she pinned a gold star and made it seem like Jack is Hitler because he banned her, and I think she might have even said, from what I heard, don't quote me on this, but I think she said something like, Jack is banning Jews from Twitter. Um, so my problem with that is obviously Jack's not Hitler. He's a piece of shit, but he's not Hitler. He's a guy who cannot for the life of him run Twitter efficiently. He's a he's a he's an ineffective businessman who always looks absolutely exhausted. Um, my problem with the whole star thing is it just seems like virtue signaling to me. And right, conservatives, we always criticize the left for virtue signaling, and then here Laura is doing the exact same thing. Um, that's my one gripe. It's a small one, but I just wish that some of her publicity stunts were more like thought thought out in terms of that type of thing. And what's interesting about my audience with the podcast is half of my audience loves Laura, and Brian, I know you're one of them, and um, half of my audience absolutely hates Laura. So um, I I like her. I've made contact with her once, and she seems like a very amicable and nice person. Um, I'm gonna try and I am going to try and get her on the podcast one of these days. Her schedule, man, she's all over the place. So I would really love to have like a sit down, in depth conversation with her. So hopefully that will happen soon, maybe in 2019. I've been talking to a couple people about that, maybe, but we'll see where that leads. in regards to the podcast, the other reason why I wanted to come on here is because I wanted to announce that if you listen to the Thursday audio podcast, on the audio podcast, we will now be having sponsors for the show. Anchor, the platform that I host from, they're pretty awesome in terms of distributing the show and getting out there. And there are all sorts of podcasts. So they're one of the companies right now, as far as I know, that has not censored something. So they're awesome in terms of that. They're also helping independent podcasters get sponsors and advertisers now. So so in case you hear an ad for me, I think this week's ad I read for Flipboard, which is that app which I actually do use, Flipboard. So mostly the ads you'll hear me read for on the audio podcast, if you subscribe, will most likely be for apps or other things. If opportunities for other things open up, I'll be a lot more cautious. Obviously, I'm not going to be reading ads for Twitter or, something that I don't agree with. But, in terms of just like small apps like Flipboard that do things, yeah, I have no problem with that. So, anyway, so that's the update on the business side of the podcast. I would still appreciate contributions and whatnot. You can subscribe on Anchor and support it that way, or patreon.com/Whitfield. Thank you for supporting the show that way too. My guest this week on the show is Seth Ian. He is a political commentator and populist conservative, much like myself, and he will be, we recorded the podcast today, and it will be airing tomorrow on Saturday. We won't be doing the show live. Funny thing happened. We recorded the show today, and I thought I had put it so that my webcam would still be recording me, but it only caught the audio. So there is going to be a show. There just won't be any video tomorrow. So subscribe to the podcast on Anchor, or wherever else you get your podcast from. If you go to anchor.fm/Whitfield Report, there should be a list of where you can subscribe to the podcast, what apps you can get on there. So anyway, that's the announcement. Sorry, no YouTube. But yeah, Sam wasn't wearing pants. That's why it was only audio. Well, who knows, Brian? You could be right. I'll tell you later. You might be right. You might not. But anyway, thanks for watching my little Periscope, and I'll talk to you all down the road. Retweet this if you care to, and just tell Jack to F off if he bothers you. Alright. Good day, folks.